Namaskar everyone and welcome to day 3 of our Dhanurmasa Satsang on the Ramayana. Lakshminatha Samarambham Nathayamana Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityamachyuta Padambuja Yukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmat Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanam Sharanam Prapadye आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदः प्राचेत सादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना. So with prayers at the lotus feet of Lord Rama at the Acharya's feet, let us start our topic for today. So in the previous satsang, we had seen about how Valmiki got down to composing the Ramayana. So today we will see up to the part about how Lord Rama is taking avatara, how he is born to Dasharath Raja. So Valmiki starts describing about how there is this kingdom called as Kosala Desha located on the banks of Sarayu Nadi. And that Rajya is ruled by the king Dasharatha, who is reigning from this capital city called as Ayodhya. Ayodhya is also known by the names as Aparajita or Abhedya, which means that it is a place which cannot be conquered. It is an inconquerable space. And in fact, such was the grandeur of Ayodhya that it has been compared to Amaravati, which is the capital city where Indra is ruling in Swarga. So, such was the grandeur of this Ayodhya. And then Valmiki Rishi describes further about how people were in Ayodhya, what was their nature, what were their characteristics. And all the people in Ayodhya were learned, they were virtuous, they had immense self control. There was nobody who was miserly, there was no greedy person, no lustful people, no nastikas. That means nobody who did not believe in the authority of the Shastras. And there were no liars. Everybody was Satyavakya. They were speaking the truth all the time. Right? So these were the type of people in Ayodhya. And everything was perfectly fine and all was going well, except for the fact that, in spite of having been married for so many years and having so many wives, Dasharath Raja did not have any children even after 60,000 years. So, at that point of time, it was advised to him by his ministers and by the rishis, by Vasishtar Guru and all of them, to perform Putra Kameshti Yagnya. Now, this is a specific type of sacrificial fire thing which is performed so that the person who is performing that yajna may be blessed with children. Now, it was told that for such a great sacrifice, any ordinary purohita will not do. You need somebody who is a priest of the highest caliber. And that person was said to be the rishi called Rishyashringa. So he was called as the officiating priest. And he arrived there, all the preparations started, and the yajna was commenced. At the same time, in another scene, if we'll see what happens, Valmiki Rishi describes about how all the devatas reached Lord Brahma and they begged him that, "Oh Brahma, you have to take care of us. You have to make some arrangement for our protection because this Rakshasa Raja called Ravana has become very powerful and he and his asuras, his Rakshasas, are troubling people all over the world, not only on earth, but even our devatas. All people everywhere are facing a lot of trouble from him. So we have to put an end to his wrongdoings. And in fact, it is Brahma and Shiva who had given him boons. So now Brahma is in a quandary. He doesn't know what to do. So he tells the devatas that let us meet Vishnu, let us go to Sriman Narayana. And they all go to the Kshira Sagara where they pray to the Lord. for protection from this Ravana's menace. And at that point of time, the Lord promises them. He says, I will take an avatara, and I will take an avatara as a human being, and I will make sure that Ravana is put to an end. So this happens in the Kshira Sagara. Now, if we come back to where the yaga is taking place, all the offerings are made, the yajna has been completed, and at the end of it, finally, there is one yajna purusha who comes from that sacrificial fire, and he is radiant and glowing, and in his hand, he has a golden vessel which carries some divine offering that contains the sweet offering, which we call as the payasa. So this Yajna Purusha gives it to Dasharatha and tells him that we are all the deities, we are all pleased with your Putra Kameshti Yaga, and as a result, we are giving you this payasam. So you please divide it among your queens, and by partaking of this payasam, they will give birth to children who will be heirs to your kingdom. So Raja Dasharatha is very happy. He takes the payasa and he decides to give it over to his main queens. So we know the main queens of Raja Dasharatha are Kausalya, who is the eldest queen. Then we have Kaikeyi and we have Sumitra. Now, many times people say Kausalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. That is right in the order in which they were given the payasa. But if you look at the order in which they were his queens, Kausalya is first, Kaikeyi is second, and Sumitra is third. Okay. So here, when he takes the payasam, all the queens are waiting eagerly to get their share. So what Raja Dashratha does is he divides that entire payasa into two halves, two parts. One half entirely he gives to Kausalya. The next half he again divides into two parts. One of those parts he gives to Sumitra. There is another part left now, right? So that again he divides into two parts. In that, he gives one part to Kaikeyi. And then Dasharatha decides that whatever is left, that last part, what to do with it, whom to give. He looks and he thinks. He says, Kausalya, I have already given her the major share. That is fine. Kaikeyi does not deserve more than what she got already. And finally, he decides to give that leftover final part to Sumitra again. Now, when they got the payasa, as soon as she got it, Kausalya immediately drank the payasa with a lot of prayer in her heart. Sumitra took her part in one hand, but she was just waiting and seeing what is going to happen. Kaikeyi got the part third actually. But as soon as she got it, she said, okay, Kausalya has already drunk her part. Sumitra is still waiting. Let me take my share quickly so that whoever is born to me will be the second born. So she drinks her part of the payasa. Sumitra is waiting with that one part in her hand. And Raja Dashratha gives her the other part. Now, when she has both parts in her hand, in her two hands, then Sumitra says a silent prayer. Acharyas explain how Sumitra prays. She says, there is one great Lord who is going to be born to Kausalya, and I want one son who will be a bhakta of that Lord. So I want one Bhagavad Bhakta. And with this other part of the payasa, Kaikeyi is going to have a child who is going to be a bhakta of the Lord. I want my second child to be the dasa, to be the servitor for that Bhagavad Bhakta. So she wants two children. She's saying, let my one child be Bhagavad Bhakta and let my other child be Bhakta Bhakta, Bhagavata Bhakta. With that bhava, she drinks. And now maybe we can understand why King Dasharatha was partial towards Sumitra. Why did he give her two parts? It is said, the Acharyas explain, that Sumitra had a lot of Shastra Jnana. She had a lot of divine intuition and she was very spiritually progressed. And that is why she got these two parts of the payasa. And with those, she prayed to have two children, one to serve the Lord and one to serve the servant of the Lord. So we will talk about this later in the future satsangs again. So once this payasa was given, they all consumed it. Now everybody was eagerly anticipating and waiting to see what will happen next. 12 months later, in the Chaitra Masa, on the Navami Tithi, at particular times, in particular nakshatras, children were born. In the Punarvasu Nakshatra, Kausalya gave birth to a son. In Pushya Nakshatra, Kaikeyi gave birth next to the son. And in Ashlesha Nakshatra, Sumitra gave birth to two sons. And the minute these children were born, everybody could see they were so full of divine glory, especially the firstborn of Kausalya. And it was as if, we know it is true, but for those people there, it was as if Jagannatha himself, the Lord of the entire universe, has been born to Kausalya. All the other babies were also very bright and resplendent in their glory. And we know they are all considered as Amsha of the Lord, or sometimes it is told they are the Divya Ayudhas of the Lord who have taken birth. All were happy to see this, and entire Ayodhya rejoiced. Why only Ayodhya? All the Devatas everywhere, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Kinnaras, the Rishimuni, everybody, all the Tapasvis, everybody in this entire universe rejoiced because now they knew that this eldest born of the Sharatha has come to put an end to the menace of the Rakshasa Raja. So we will stop our topic here for today. And only thing that we need to do, pay attention to here is two aspects. That if you look at the episode which was described in the middle of the yajna, we said that all the deities went to Sriman Narayana and prayed to him for protection. So they threw themselves on his mercy. They surrendered to him. And this is the first instance of Sharanagati in Ramayana. What is this Sharanagati? It is the process in which we surrender to a higher being and we surrender to the Lord and we say that I have no other alternative in this world. You have to take care of me. You have to protect me. And I don't have anybody else in the world to take care of me. And I'm entirely yours. You do whatever you wish with me. So this Sharanagati occurs many times in Ramayana. In fact, the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas tell that the entire Ramayana, they call it as Sharanagati Shastra. And this instance, where the Devatas, unable to bear the torture of Ravana, they rushed to the Lord and begged him for protection. That is the very first instance of Sharanagati in Ramayana. In fact, in order to keep his word to the Devatas, the Lord later temporarily puts on hold giving results to Bharata, who also did Sharanagati. We will come to that in due course of time. Anyway, let us remember that the prayer of the deities to Sriman Narayana is the first instance of Sharanagati in Ramayana. Now, Lord promised the Devatas and Brahma, and he told them that I will take birth as a human being and I will be born to Dasharath Raja. Now, why did he say I will take a human birth? Why did he not take any other kind of avatara? We know how in the previous yuga, in the Krita yuga, the Lord had taken different avatars as Kurma, Matsya, Varaha, Vamana, and so on. Why in this avatara, why did he take a human form? Because it was known to the Lord that this Ravana, who was troubling all the Devatas and against whom he had to protect his devotees, that Ravana had got boons. He had got the boon that he had asked that I should not be destroyed, I should not be killed by anybody, no Devata, no Yaksha, no Kinnara, no Gandharva. Like that, he had listed all the categories of people who should not be able to ever trouble him. And in his egoistic, in his arrogance, he had forgotten or he had thought rather that what can a human being after all do to me? I am Rakshaseshwara, isn't it? I am the great Asura. Who can do anything? Which human being can do anything? So he never considered humans as worthy of his, strength. And that is why when he asked for the boon, he did not specify that he wants to be not killed by human beings. And taking advantage of that fact, the Lord decided that he is going to take Avatara as a human being. Along with that, Ravana had also not asked for protection against the Vanaras, and that is why the Lord instructed the different devatas that when I take Avatara as a human being, I want all of you to come on the earth in the form of Vanaras. And so it was that many mighty devatas, they all took Avatara as Vanaras. We know that we know about Hanuman first. He is considered Vayuputra. He is Rudravatara also. So he came. Then we know that Bali is an avatara from Indra and Sugriva is an avatara of the sun god Surya. So like this, just as the Lord took avatara, the devatas also came in different forms to assist the Lord in his mission to get rid of Ravana. So, this is what we had as the topic for today, and we will meet again tomorrow learning about how these children born to Dasharatha were named. What is the significance of those names? What do they convey to us about the future roles of those children? We will see all that in the next satsang. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Sri Rama and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Namaskar.